So what do we do now?
So episode 1 of the
Is it recording?
podcast.
Are we going? Is it
Yeah.
on?
This is it? We're doing this?
Yeah,
Oh shit. We've been talking about this forever. Is it okay to swear?
yeah.
Good.
It's adults.
Alright, good. So yeah, we gotta have a name, we gotta think of a name. Whatever that is. And should we talk a little bit about what we're gonna do, what the show should be like, Mark?
Yeah.
Is it cool if we talk to our producer off camera?
Oh, definitely.
Are you off camera? You're not gonna be on camera
Or
with us?
I can point this one.
Yeah, you should be on it. You should. We all have a discussion. I don't know. I mean, it makes no difference. But
Yeah. So, well, I wanted to talk about that case. Actually, I don't know what's going on with the written
Howard.
case. I know nothing.
I
That
know
would be
precious
interesting.
little myself.
I would be interested to hear what you've kind of think of it right now. What your mindset is of it. What
You
do
ready?
you
We
think
gonna
it's
go right
about?
into that right now? Should we dive
No,
into
I
it?
I think it's a murder case. I saw someone on the
Okay.
stand. He was a young white male, and that's all I know. I think it's racially triggered. Something happened, but that's all I know. I haven't heard any news.
Well, let me tell you about what little I know. How about this? Because you've probably been following it more than
I watched
anybody.
most of the trial.
Right, okay, so the little I know, I think it was a Black Lives Matter protest. He's a 17-year-old man, I believe, and he brought an AR or something to it with the idea of that. Some people, I think he said that he was going there to protect store owners and stuff like this from rioting or vandalism. Some people said that he had made remarks about wanting to kill people in the past. So his motivations were up for grabs according to the media. Different media, had different opinions on what he was there for. Then when the shit was all going down, now this is where it got really. I heard all this. Okay, so let me tell you the way I heard it, and then I heard that he then he shot up the place and killed 3 people or shot 3 people, and then it makes it sound like this guy went there and just started trying to take people out, but then the defense was that he was doing it in self-defense because I think at least one of the guys was chasing him, and then people started bringing his background in and saying, well, he beat up his girlfriend, but then they had people saying, well, look at the people that he was in altercations with in this during the march. This one guy was a robber. Anyway, I can't remember it all. You tell him. You know.
Well, here's what the real situation is, and he's a 17-year-old kid, and he did cross state lines, not with a weapon. He did pick the weapon up from like his sister's boyfriend, locked up. Basically, he works as a lifeguard. He was helping to remove graffiti from the school that day.
Is it ironic that he was a lifeguard?
He is. He's a lifeguard. He wants to be an EMT. He was removing graffiti that day. He was protecting the car lot. People asked him to do that through his friend. They said that's one of the lots that got burned up completely. They burned up, and they call it a Black Lives Matter protest. There's a difference between protesting and rioting. So he goes there. He also had his EMT, his little packet. He's not an EMT yet, but he was an EMT. They show video of him putting fires out with his fire extinguisher. That's what triggered one of the gentlemen. The first Rosenbaum, the shorter gentleman, bald guy. And there was actually a guy there with a green shirt and a hat that looked just like Kyle that helped put that fire out. So he later on, I think, thought that was Kyle. There's videos of these things. So basically, that's what Rittenhauer, the guy, thought it was him. They were, you hear all kinds of things. I was watching Joe Scarborough. Joe Scarborough said there was 60 rounds shot. He shot 4 times at Rittenhouse and 2 or 3 other shots. This is the news. This is what we're getting. This is where this white supremacy stuff comes in, and they're just feeding the fire of insanity. And in my opinion, no way was he white supremacist. This has nothing to do with racial, shooting people at a protest, because it wasn't. Day 3 of rioting in your city, imagine that coming to your town, and what should you do? I mean, we almost should have had like I brought my laptop. I almost should have had it set up where we could have reviewed some videos right now too, just to kind of. Here's
Put 'em up on the
here's
screen
what
or
I'm
something,
also
you know.
seeing is so many of these left-leaning, websites or news organizations just keep painting it as if it's a black and white, as if he was chasing people down. Yeah, he's going to get the video.
This is a thing that's been bugging me too. No, I'm not. I'm more of like a liberal-leaning person typically. I typically more like
You're the classical liberal, dude. You're not a progressive.
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty liberal, but I'm also like very much like a live and let live person.
Right.
So the libertarians, there's a certain appeal for me for that, but then obviously that thing was kind of co-opted by corporations and stuff.
They always are, yes.
But my issue with the media, okay, let me back up. So Donald Trump, people loved him or hated him, and I hated him. But the reason I hated him was not the same reason that everybody else hated him. The thing that I couldn't stand about Donald Trump was that I felt he was divisive. I felt he was deliberately trying to stir the pot, provoke people, and make people into two camps and squabble, and that's how he would capitalize on that. He would capitalize on the chaos. Now, as I paint him with that brush and condemn him, the media, like you're talking about, I did think that the media on both sides is super inflammatory, but I did think that, to your point, that the liberal media is trying to make everything a black versus white issue. Like we're trying to make everything racism
It's
because
the old
racism
divide and conquer.
sells more newspapers.
It's clickbait nowadays. That's what they call it. In fact, you can look at these clickbait stories online. It'll have a headline, so and so does something, but when you get in there, it debunks itself. It's really not that. Well, actually, it's
Right.
really insanity what the news organizations have done. And I'll be honest, it started with Donald Trump. The hatred they had of somebody outside of the loop getting in there, and they painted him. He couldn't drink a glass of water. Nothing he did was good. And if you watched CNN or MSNBC, and then everything all of a sudden becomes magically racist. I don't know, we had a black president for 8 years, 2 terms. I didn't hear anybody, where were the racists then? Why weren't they coming out of the woodwork trying to burn the world down? Because guess what? They're stupid, foolish, insecure people who will always be racists. But honestly, the world's gotten a lot better in my 64 years.
Racially.
So they're painting this thing, and it's insane. And people, the CNN, MSNBC people, and the Fox people, they're idiots too. They just, it's just. There's a whole story I could tell you about that when the first Bush got in there. How they protect their own sides, and it's idiotic. But this push to make everything Nazi, Ku Klux Klan, or white supremacists is doing this world a big.
Right. Well, when the news is for sale, I mean, it's a sensationalist product. Everything is like what we're doing here. We're not trying to, we're trying to talk about reality, but we're not trying to,
Sensationalized.
and throw lightning rods out there.
Yeah.
What's insane is I did sit through and watch a majority of that trial, and then I would look at the news, and they would come out and they would say, so and so described how he was afraid of getting killed. Gage Croist, no, I can't remember his last name. Gage. He was the one that got. They didn't mention he had a gun. They didn't mention any of that.
This is a criticism I have with the liberal media too. They'll tell the whole story about how he was on this rampage, but they won't talk about anything that confounds
He
their
wasn't
story
even on a
anyway.
rampage. He was afraid. He was scared for his life. The stories they're selling are like it's
the
putrid,
news,
and it makes me upset when I have my friends come up to me and they're like, "This is no," and they're
Dude, like when we were kids, Dan Rather was on TV, or Walter Cronkite or something before my time. But these guys were on
It
3
was
major
news.
stations, and each of those stations, in my opinion, you guys can tell me if you think I'm wrong about this, but the way I look at it, each of those 3 stations was trying to play to the middle. They're trying to give
Yes.
basically a centrist story, and then like some people look at it like this, some people look at this, but this is the one part we can all agree on. I'm Walter Cronkite. Have a good night. That's what they were all 3 trying to do, compete for that the main audience. When Fox came out, Fox became like well, we figured out we can get, instead of trying to compete for each one getting a third of the audience, we can take 40% of the audience just by being super off to one side, which was
Yeah,
a new concept.
It even
And
started before that.
MSNBC
CNN started doing it when they started covering the wars. And
Yeah,
just
was it
becomes-
them? I don't know,
it
but-
becomes-
but-
well, but then
But
when
that's,
Fox
that's how
came
they all
out,
did, and then that's what they're all doing now. Like CNN is like super liberal and super about like everything's racist. Then you got like Fox over here. There's no racism. You got like totally different, reality, alternative facts on every
I
station.
kind of liked Fox for like a minute until I started watching them report on George W. and he was garbage, and then they just nope, we're not going to really criticize that, and that's what makes me. And so when you watch these channels, if you just like to eat the Kool-Aid and the stuff, and you like that, just keep doing it and not be any really educated. I go to different websites.
What are some websites you go to? Because I
I
don't
like Breitbart. I still go to InfoWars. People laugh at Alex Jones and act like he's some lunatic, but I tell you what, we could go to any of his stories right now and do a discussion on them and see if we agree with him. And I
Let's
used to
do
go
that.
down there.
Let's
That's
take that.
crazy. Trouble is, when you start looking into it, it's all real. I like
Right.
Tim Pool. He's got a real good talk show, Timcast IRL. In real life, he has all kinds of guests. He had some guests from the Rittenhouse people that were doing the videos that were there that night. The crazy stuff is, there's also one called The Young Turks. That's a very liberal, left-handed one. That used to be kind of I guess a decent one for liberals, but he's getting big money now. And for this whole year, they were giving all these crazy stories, but the Anna Karspinian, I can't remember her name. She just came out and said, well, there's this new video, and it looks like he was chasing Kyle. It looks like Rosenbaum was chasing
Right,
Kyle.
just some guy
This is
chasing him,
video
yeah.
that everybody in the world had, but they've been just as if they never watched the video, and they heard this and they just want to repeat it.
Well, this
It's
is the thing. So,
insanity,
and I
this
can't
news.
speak to the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, like other people have been following a lot closer. But the one thing that I've seen again and again is when there's a narrative, it comes on the TV. Like I used to say, if it bleeds, it leads. That's how they pick the stories for the news.
Right.
Like hey, if it bleeds, put it on the front page because that's the most exciting, dramatic stuff. And then these days, I believe it's like if you can find a component of racism, it will lead. And so they're trying to find a racist thing.
That's the thing.
But
They turn
so-
it all into white and black things.
Right. So and I still I'm gonna turn on NBC or CNN. Those are still the ones I pick because they're closer to. I guess I think they're closer to planet Earth than Fox is, which I think is just absolutely fucking
You are
nuts.
you're very completely wrong on that.
I mean, I know
They're
that's why
both
we're here
very- they're
for you to
both
tell me
very
that.
wrong.
But
CNN is poison.
oh, I think
Honestly.
it's very curated though to pick through the stuff that they
I-
think will outrage and spark their particular audience.
I would take any of their shows and I would debunk those shows.
But though,
I'd love to do
but the
that
thing
on an
is, but the
episode.
thing that I didn't like about it, I mean, is first of all, they're always trying to find like some trans issue or a racial issue. They're always trying to find something about somebody being downtrodden and like look at this person and how they were victimized. There's usually a thing about somebody being victimized, and the thing is, whenever it looks like well, maybe there wasn't really a clear persecutor and a clear victim here, they would kind of omit the data.
That's
Like so, and this
exactly
is
how
what I
you
mean,
do it.
the Rittenhouse thing.
Yes.
Like, if you were to watch CNN, you're not going to see the thing about that one of the dudes was pursuing him and
They're
had a
lying
gun.
by omission. Lying by
Right, exactly.
omission.
So, the old Yiddish saying, and this, I think both networks are are really guilty of this. The old Yiddish saying, "A half a truth is a whole lie," and so I think
The old
all this
sayings
shit
are
we're
the
just
best.
like wading through a sea of lies. I've been lied to. I think you've been lied to. I really, from what I understand about Breitbart, no, I don't look at it like you do, but I'll go check into it before our next show. But my understanding is that's inflammatory and, of course, curated.
You know something? I know that's what you think because that's what people tell you. It's like,
Well, I'll go
in fact,